Hello, everyone, and welcome to Different Stages Radio. I'm your host, JJ, broadcasting from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And on today's show, we have for you from rising Vancouver band 13 Goats, who just released their brand new second album on July 12th called Capricorn Rising. Please welcome my guest, Graham K. Miles. How are you?
I'm doing great, JJ. I've had a cup of coffee in me, got to bed nice and early after the gig in Grand Forks last night. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you as well. And you were saying off air there, a yoga studio last night. That sounds playing in a
Yeah,
yoga studio. You got to do what you got to do.
this tour has been really interesting because we've had some larger spaces with really incredible audiences. And then we've also had some like very DIY venues. So for example, when we played the Starlight Room in Edmonton, we had a good solid crowd in there, pretty much wall to wall across the floor. And then last night in Grand Forks, we played in a yoga studio above a home renovation center. It still had a decent amount of people come out. So pretty happy about that.
I'm thinking what could have worked though is maybe if it was a Yoda studio. That might have been a bit better, huh? That seems a bit perhaps better suited for you, maybe. There's an actual Yoda studio in Grand Forks. No,
Sorry, say again.
a Yoda studio.
I think
Actually,
that one's going over my head.
Star Wars.
Like,
Yoda.
oh, right. Yes.
That's okay. You're still waking up. You're still drinking your coffee. It's all good. So
Correct.
you played Grand Forks last night. You're going to be in Kelowna tonight.
Yep, we're playing Dunenzies in Kelowna tonight, and then we are in Kamloops the night after at the Blue Grotto, Clancy's Pub in Penticton Friday night, and then we are capping off the tour with the hometown show and official album release party at the Fox Cabaret on August 3rd in Vancouver, BC.
Yes. So making note, the day that this is recorded is Wednesday, July 31st. So Kelowna, British Columbia tonight, and then wrapping up, like you said, this coming Saturday at the Fox Cabaret in Vancouver. And you're currently on tour with Fall of Earth.
Yeah.
And how's
Fall of,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
just how's that going with them?
Oh, that's awesome. Fall of Earth, for anyone who doesn't know, is a hybrid metal band from Edmonton. So they play uh, kind of like us, a mixture of different extreme metal styles. Some stuff that is way heavier, some stuff that is much cleaner, more hook oriented, radio friendly. All of those are super nice guys. We've been really honored to be on the road with them for the last week and a half. Super polished and professional, and just all around good, friendly dudes who make good music. So it's been a really good touring experience. And I think it's also a good experience for the audience because we definitely have different sounds and different aesthetics, but there is enough of a common thread there, being, extreme metal with sort of more of a pop sensibility to it in certain parts. And I think that'll give people something that they maybe don't get from your run-of-the-mill death metal show.
No, very, very true. And I also want to let people know that aren't familiar with 13 Goats, that your overall presentation from what I see online as far as all of your videos, but in particular the three that you put out so far for Capricorn Rising, like very pro and look really, really smart. You should be very proud of that. Can you talk about any of those songs or the album for people that aren't familiar with 13 Goats?
Sure, yeah. So Capricorn Rising is our second full-length album. The first one was Servants of the Outer Dark, which came out in 2022. We did the first one completely independent, then connected with Exitus Stratagem Records down in the US to put out this next disc. And for this album, we wanted to do something a little bit more conceptual. So the record actually is a concept album, and it tells a story across the 9 tracks. That is the story of our band mascot, the goat skull wearing interdimensional dark wizard / antichrist named Shepherd, who travels with 12 demon goats instead of disciples. And he's sort of our version of Eddie or Vic Rattlehead or Snaggletooth or whatever. Just kind of this like sinister character that we can work into various settings and lore. But we wanted to flesh out his backstory and make him a bit more of a character. And so this record is his origin story. It's the story of an everyman like you or me who, like many of us, becomes disillusioned by the way the world is going, the constant war, the greed, the inequality, and his response to that is to sell his soul for the power to talk to animals and then rally them into an army to take back the earth from humankind. One of the things about the story that I always want to make sure we get across to people is that this is someone who starts out with kind of noble intentions, and I think a lot of us can relate to like wanting to revolt and wanting to overthrow the system and set up something else. But it's also a cautionary tale about the nature of vengeance and how it can literally turn you into a monster if you let it. So different things for different people to take away from that, hopefully. In terms of the videos, we've been really lucky to know some people in the Vancouver film and TV scene, and that's through my connections mostly because I am an actor when I'm not a musician. I've been in a couple of series. I actually did a master's degree in acting from the former actor studio in New York in a different lifetime. And so I know a lot of people who have the means to create some pretty high-end stuff. And we've been really lucky as well that we've been able to get a lot of that support on quite a budget. We try our best to pay people what they're worth, but we're also an independent or a small label metal band. And so sometimes we call in a couple of favors. We reach out to artists who we know can do a lot with a little. And I hope that that's helped set our videos above what you would normally see from a band of our size.
Any luck with any grants? Have you worked on that at all?
We've tried writing a couple of grants,
Mhm.
but it's something that I need to get deeper into.
Yeah.
Writing a grant as a musician is very different from writing a grant as as an actor or as a theater creator. Um, and I'm still sort of working out the formula, but at this point, the band has grown to a level where we know some people who have some experience grant writing, some people who have been involved with Creative BC or Canada Council for the Arts before. So I'm hopeful that the next time we throw our hat in the ring, we may get some funding and be able to do even more cool stuff.
Expand a tour, that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
so have you pretty much just been playing in Canada? Have you had a chance to get down to the US, like any Washington dates or Oregon? Have you done any of those yet?
We're talking about it. Our label is currently talking a little bit about sponsoring us for visas to go down and play some US shows. There are a couple of festivals as well that they provide sponsorship for that they, are hopeful they'll be able to get us onto the bill for pretty soon. But the reality is that for international artists to tour in the US, the obstacles are pretty significant. For anyone who's not aware, the rising costs of visas for Canadians to get into the US, especially in a band, because you have to pay for a visa per member and for everyone who's traveling with you, is pretty insane. It just went up again this year. So we have mostly only toured in Canada to this point. We're probably going to try and do South America and Europe and Asia before we try to do the US, just because it's more realistic from an economic perspective, and also because that's where a lot of our music is getting pushed to. I look at where people are streaming us, and I see a lot of them are coming from Germany, a lot of them are coming from Colombia, and we would like to get out and bring the live show to the people who are supporting the release the most. Some good traction in the States too, especially on radio. But again, we'll get there when we can, and that'll depend on the visa situation.
Well, totally makes sense, but don't want to be fearful that anybody misses out on what you're doing, because I find what I've listened to so far, like I was mentioning earlier, the presentation is a step beyond I find most bands are at. And it would be nice to see a band, especially from this part of the world, get more exposure globally, because you can definitely hear the influences on the record for sure. But I find that you still have that ability to put in what would be 13 Goats, I would say, signature, and making it a bit more unique and not just being another, say, thrashy or techy or deathy album. Because yeah, like you said, there's definitely those catchy elements, and there's definitely some memorable riffs, because yeah, like the production I find was just so crisp and so precise. Can you talk at all about Matt Roach? Because he's becoming a bit of a deal on this part of the world. How is it working with Matt?
Well, Matt, I mean, we were attracted to working with Matt in the beginning because he already has such a sterling reputation. Like as far as we're concerned, Matt is kind of like the Rick Rubin of Canada. Like he's extremely insightful. He's very supportive. He really goes above and beyond to help every band he works with sound their best, especially if he hears something that he likes about the music. So we approached Matt originally and sort of played him a couple of songs from the last record, and he picked up the ball and ran with it. He just kind of went like, yeah, I'd love to work with you guys. And originally he wasn't going to produce the record. Originally he was just going to record the drums and the vocals. But as he got deeper into it, he sort of involved himself more and more. And so what we ended up with was a creative partner when we had originally thought we were just going to sort of hire someone to do a couple of odd jobs for the release. Matt's a super friendly guy, and he has volumes and volumes of experience. So we're really, really happy to work with him.
And then Diego, who mixed and mastered it. I'm not familiar with him. Where's Diego come from?
Yeah, Diego's an Edmonton guy, so he is in a band called Eye of Horus.
Okay.
And they actually played Armstrong Metal Festival with us pretty recently. Diego also super friendly, super easygoing and accommodating, but a guy who really knows his shit. I should say he also reamped the guitars. We went DI when we recorded the guitars, and then we passed those files on to Diego, and he ran it through his chain and ended up getting so that crisp guitar sound that you hear on the record. We owe a lot of that to Diego. And we worked with him on our first release as well. But one of the reasons we're so impressed with him is because he has this ability to really to sort of not only let every instrument sit in the mix nicely, but to find some tones that we didn't always have an ability to zero in on our own when we were just kind of in the jam space. We're very riff oriented. We do a lot of writing and practicing and focusing on the actual music, but we're not really gearheads. So to have that support from Matt and from Diego on the producing, mixing, mastering side, that's been a huge part of why the record sounds the way it sounds. And we're really proud of that sound. So we owe a big debt of gratitude to those guys.
And it really shows how much importance is with an outside producer, whether they're the ones that are also mixing it, but just have that person that's neutral who can give you some positive and promising input to how to make yourselves better. Because sometimes a band I find can be a bit too focused and perhaps a bit too stubborn or heels dug in, that they don't want to try something new or different. And to have somebody out there that, like you said, like Matt and Diego, that you're comfortable with and know the vibe and perhaps, the overall intentions that you're going for, and can help improve that and make it even stronger and better than you perhaps initially had envisioned.
Absolutely. I think, like I said, the advantage is that it gave us the freedom to just focus on the songwriting and the performance, and then to leave the technical elements up to two guys who we really trusted to do those in a way that matched our vision for the music. I find that in 2024, artists are sort of expected to do everything. They have to be producers, they have to be PR people, they have to do marketing and merchandising, and they have to be their own tour managers in a lot of cases. And they have to create a steady stream of content at all times, because otherwise it's just impossible to monetize a project and to make it sustainable and to help it grow. So anyone we come across who lends us their expertise, gives us good advice, believes in our music enough to support us with those aspects of turning music into a business that we are still learning, frankly, because we're an emerging artist. We're immensely grateful for that support. And we got to say the same for our manager, Joel Spielman at EMG. We got to say the same for the managers of Fall of Earth, Paul Husband and Kristen Cholak at the Next Level Entertainment, who have been really, really helpful, with this tour that we're doing. And the people who have done our artwork, the people who have, helped us put together our merchandise and print it on good quality garments. Like, these are things that we are all learning as we go. But the fact that we found so many people who fundamentally like us and the music we make enough to make sure that they're helping us learn that and offering us their expertise during the process, we wouldn't be where we are without any of that help.
That's huge. And that's cool that you respect and honor that and know how invaluable all that is towards, especially an up and coming band. Now, you had mentioned earlier about playing Armstrong Metal Fest, and that was just a few weeks back. How was that experience for you?
Armstrong was great. Honestly, one of the best shows that we've ever played. We had a 1 p.m. slot on the first day of the festival, and it was a weekday, and we thought that nobody would show up. We assumed everybody would be hungover after lunch and sleeping in their tents across the park grounds. But we were blown away by the response we got. We started playing the first song, and the dome just kind of filled up. We sold a shitload of merch, got a lot of really, really good responses from the people we talked to in the audience after. Some phenomenal photos and videos. We made some really good connections with other promoters, festival organizers, and best of all, we got to hang out and see some bands that we really loved. So
Yeah,
a
always
10 out of 10 experience.
yeah, always good to network and make some new friends and build more of your reputation and just better exposure.
Yeah, though the one thing I would say is that's a slightly bigger stage than we have been used to playing on. And you got to do the monitors completely different when you're on a bigger stage because, you know, when you're playing in a bar, the drum kit, it's right behind you and you can hear everything that your drummer is playing. And bigger stages, man, in-ear monitors feeling pretty essential after that. You know, and we were lucky that the sound guy at AMF was really good, so we could all hear each other. But certainly a different experience, and that's, you know, if there was one piece of unsolicited advice I was going to give to a younger band playing a bigger stage for the first time, it would be dial in your sound, either get the in-ear monitors or talk to the sound guy and make everything leveled exactly the way you want it beforehand, because otherwise all that open space and all those people, they're going to soak up the tones and you're just not going to know where you are.
That's very good advice. But see, these are the things you learn getting out on the road, and that's part of the game is learning that stuff. Now, you like we said, you have the homecoming show on August 3rd. Where can people get Capricorn Rising and Servants?
Great. We've got a couple of
Other than the
places.
show, other than the shows, of course. But where can we send people to buy your albums? Because we do you do
Sure.
have physical CDs, which is awesome.
Yeah. So right now you can buy the CDs on our Bandcamp. If the new album isn't up there yet, it ought to be any day now. Our label helps run the Bandcamp account, so that should be there. You can also buy the new CD directly from EXSR. So that's Exitus Stratagem Records, or EXSR. If you go to their website, you'll find the disc available for purchase there. We also obviously have physical copies that'll be available at our shows. And you can stream the music anywhere that you typically stream music. So we're on all the major platforms, and also, you know, Pandora and Deezer and YouTube Music and all the other ones.
But the physical is always that to have that nice
Of
piece of
course.
catalog. I like stuff.
And oh God, me too. And it's much better for the artist if you go and buy a CD, you know, buy a vinyl. We don't have vinyls available yet, but if the you know, if the success of this record continues, our label is talking to us about doing a vinyl reprint. So for anybody out there, if you hear Capricorn Rising and you love it and you want to get it on vinyl, make sure you go out and buy the physical CD. Make sure you stream the shit out of it, because that is the way that we will get a vinyl re-release sooner rather than later.
Good way to pimp. So once again, Capricorn Rising came out on July 12th. You're in Kelowna, British Columbia tonight, or you're in Grand Forks right now, but you'll be playing tonight, July 31st, Wednesday, July 31st in Kelowna, and then you'll be wrapping up in Vancouver on August 3rd. You're on tour with Fall of Earth. What's going on after this run? You got other plans for the rest of the year?
Some, yeah. We're gonna play a small show in Langley with our friends in Plague Doctor and Deathbound, two up and coming metal bands who we really get along with. Great music from both of those guys. So that'll be an event at a secret location on August 18th, but the event is public. And if you, you know, if you message us, we'll tell you where it is and how to get there. We're going to try and do some weekend touring throughout the rest of the year. Probably get out to Vancouver Island, because that's a place we've always wanted to play and haven't done yet. We're going to look at the Sunshine Coast. We're going to look at northern BC, Prince George and Prince Rupert. And we've had some really, really good invitations from people that we've played with in the interior so far on this tour. People saying, you know, come back, we'll get you a bigger venue. We'll do it on a weekend. We'll plug the shit out of it for a few weeks beforehand so that we fill the place. So as for the rest of 2024, we're probably going to be mostly in BC. But 2025 is an open book. There are tentative plans to go down to the States and maybe do some shows in Washington. We may end up trying to play Eastern Canada. As I said, we've got our eyes on South America, possibly Europe if the right thing comes up. But it all depends on how this album rolls out and what the response is, and how things go.
Well, it sounds like a lot of people have your back and you're getting some cool opportunities. So us at Different Stages Radio are pulling for 13 Goats in 2024 and beyond. Hopefully have a chance to see you on August 3rd with Fall of Earth. And by all means, everyone go to Bandcamp and search for 13 Goats and pick up their physical products. I'm sure digital's fine too, but nothing like having the physical, because you can't sign air. You can sign a CD. So
That's true. But we're also we're very personable. So if you are coming to one of the shows and you want to pick up a t-shirt or a CD, patches, posters, whatever, hats, we'll sign them for you. We'll pose for photos. You can find us on Instagram. We're pretty easy to get a hold of. We just want to be out there connecting with the people who love the music we make as much as we do. You know, all that support is invaluable to us, and we want to give back to the community in whatever way we can.
Perfect. Well, thanks again, Graham K. Miles from 13 Goats.
Thank you, JJ, and horns up, you guys.